My name is Elena Brooks, and the night my father told me to pack my things and stop pretending this house was ever mine, he thought he had already won. He was standing in the kitchen of the house my mother built from nothing, the same kitchen where she used to make pancakes every Sunday morning, the same kitchen where she once told me something strange when I was 16. Some things, she had said while stirring coffee, are safer when they're written down instead of spoken out loud. At the time, I thought she was talking about recipes. I had no idea she was talking about the future. But the night my father told me to leave, the truth about that future was already waiting for him. He just didn't know it yet. The night everything fell apart started quietly. It was raining outside, the kind of steady rain that makes the whole street smell like wet asphalt and fallen leaves. I was sitting on the couch in the living room trying to answer emails for work. My joints were stiff that night. My autoimmune condition had been flaring again, the kind that makes even typing feel like your fingers are wrapped in barbed wire. Across the room, my father, Richard Brooks, was pacing. He had been pacing for 20 minutes. Behind him stood his girlfriend. No, not girlfriend anymore. Wife. Angela. They had gotten married 6 weeks after my mother's funeral. 6 weeks. Some people thought that was fast. I thought it was honest. Because you don't marry someone 6 weeks after your wife dies unless the story started long before the funeral. My father finally stopped pacing. He looked at me the way you look at something inconvenient, something that doesn't belong where it's sitting. "We need to talk," he said. Whenever my father said those words, it meant one thing: the conversation was already over. He sat down at the kitchen table. Angela sat beside him, crossing her legs slowly, watching me with that polite smile she used whenever other people were around. But tonight, there were no other people, just the 3 of us, and the house that still smelled faintly like my mother's lavender candles. My father slid a folder across the table. "You're an adult now," he said. "It's time you figured things out on your own." I didn't open the folder. "What's this?" "A lease termination." The words sounded strange in my ears. "Lease?" Angela leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table. "This house belongs to Richard now," she said gently, "and we've decided to start fresh." Start fresh. It's funny how people use soft words when they're about to do something cruel. My father tapped the folder with 2 fingers. "You have 30 days to move out." 30 days. I looked around the room. The same walls I had grown up staring at during childhood dinners, the window where my mother used to wave to neighbors walking their dogs, the hallway where she used to leave sticky notes reminding me to eat breakfast. "Mom bought this house," I said quietly. My father's expression didn't change. "She's gone." 3 words. That was the entire argument. Angela reached over and squeezed his arm. "Sweetheart, she's grieving," she said softly. He sighed like someone dealing with a difficult employee. "Your mother handled finances, but legally I'm the surviving spouse. That means the house is mine." I didn't argue, because something about the way he said it didn't sound confident. It sounded rehearsed. And when people rehearse something too carefully, it usually means they're afraid someone will question it. Still, I said nothing. I just closed the folder. That night, I packed a suitcase. Not because I believed him, but because my mother had always taught me something important. When someone shows you exactly who they are, believe them the first time. I stayed with my Aunt Clara. She lived 20 minutes away in a small blue house with a front porch that always smelled like cinnamon. When she opened the door and saw my suitcase, she didn't ask questions. She just hugged me. "Your mom would have knocked some sense into that man," she muttered. I laughed weakly. Then I told her everything. About the folder, about the 30 days, about Angela measuring the living room that afternoon like she was already planning renovations. Clara listened quietly. When I finished, she walked into the kitchen and came back holding a small wooden box. "Your mother left this with me," she said. My stomach tightened. "What is it?" "She said to give it to you if things ever got messy." Messy. That was exactly the word. I opened the box slowly. Inside was a single envelope, my name written across the front in my mother's handwriting. The kind of handwriting you recognize instantly, even years later. My hands started shaking before I even opened it. Inside was a letter. Short. Simple. But every word felt like it had been written directly into my chest. "Elena, if you're reading this, it means something went wrong. Call the number written below. Trust them. Love always finds a way to protect the people who matter." Below the message was a phone number. I stared at it for a long time. "Do you know who this is?" I asked. Clara shook her head. "Nope." "Did she say anything else?" "She just said you'd know what to do." The next morning, I dialed the number. My heart was beating so loudly I could hear it in my ears. The call rang 3 times. Then someone answered. "Law office of Daniel Harper." Law office. I swallowed. "My name is Elena Brooks." There was a pause. Then the man's voice changed slightly. "Elena, we've been expecting your call." I sat down slowly. "Expecting? Your mother arranged everything 3 years ago." 3 years. 3 years before she got sick. 3 years before the hospital visits and chemotherapy and the slow exhaustion that followed. 3 years before Angela ever stepped into our lives. My mother had already seen the storm coming, and she had prepared for it. Daniel Harper explained the rest calmly. The house was not in my father's name. It had never been. My mother had transferred it into a trust. The sole beneficiary? Me. But that wasn't even the part that shocked me the most. There was more. Insurance policies, savings accounts, investments my father had never known existed. All of it carefully documented, all of it legally protected, and all of it waiting for one specific moment, the moment someone tried to take it. The reading of the will happened 2 weeks later. My father arrived confident. Angela arrived dressed like she was attending a charity gala. They sat across the table from me like they had already won. Then the lawyer opened the folder, and everything changed. The house belonged to me. The investments belonged to me. The accounts belonged to me. My father received one thing, $50,000. Angela's smile disappeared. My father stared at the papers like they were written another language. Then the lawyer played the video my mother had recorded. Seeing her face again felt like someone pressing a bruise that had barely started healing. She looked straight into the camera. "If you're reading this, it means something went wrong," she said gently. Her voice filled the room, and for a moment it felt like she had walked back in. "I know Richard, and I know the choices he might make." My father shifted in his seat. Mom smiled sadly. "Elena, you were never a burden. You were the best thing that ever happened to me." My aunt squeezed my hand under the table. "And if anyone ever tells you otherwise, they're lying." When the video ended, the room stayed silent for a long time. My father didn't look at me. Angela left first. Just walked out. Didn't say a word. 3 weeks later, my father moved out of the house. I stood in the doorway the day he finished packing. For a moment, he looked like he wanted to say something. Instead, he just nodded once and walked past me. I haven't seen him since. Spring came a few months later. The first warm afternoon of the year, I sat on the back porch drinking tea. The garden behind the house had started blooming again. Tulips, my mom's favorite. She planted them the year before she died. She used to say flowers were a promise, proof that something beautiful can grow after a long winter. As I watched the wind move through the garden, I realized something. My mother hadn't just left me a house, she had left me protection. She had left me proof that love doesn't disappear when someone is gone. Sometimes it's hidden in paperwork, sometimes it's written in letters, sometimes it's waiting quietly for the exact moment you need it. And if there's one thing I learned from everything that happened, it's this. The people who try to take everything from you usually believe they've already won. But the truth has a funny way of showing up right when they least expect it. And when it does, everything changes.